Hi everybody, welcome back one more time. Mike McConville here in Stratford for String Tech Workstations. We've got a Martin Geoff Muldaur guitar here today, and it's got some buzzing issues. It looks like the nut has been cut a little too low. So we'll walk you through this step by step, what we do to sort of get rid of the extraneous buzzing. And I have humidified this guitar for actually 4 full days. It was dried out quite a bit, so I think that was part of the problem. The action did lift a bit once I got some humidity in there, but we've still got that extraneous buzzing that needs to be dealt with. Let's take a closer look. So here's the issue. We've got the open string, which is not too bad, unless you hit it pretty hard, but that just barely makes it. But right, as soon as you start on the first fret, stops right there. Now this fingerboard does fall off. It ramps down a little bit. We will definitely need to do a fret dress where the neck joins the body. I can see some stress marks along the fingerboard as well where the lacquer has kind of pulled, and I think that's just from drying out. So you can't blame Martin for that. The customer needs to keep the guitar humidified. So let's check the A string. Not bad. Just a hint. It's really the there, we're starting there. Right in here, D string. G. Oh, that's good. Okay, so the top 3 strings are good. It's the 3 bass strings that are giving us issue. But we're going to start with the fret dress. So we'll heat up that nut, remove that, do our fret dress, and see how we do with that. Yeah, so this is the lacquer checking at the glue joint, the ebony to the mahogany, all the way along there that's checking. This side, kind of same deal. You can see this is kind of bubbling a little bit too. Anyway, no lumber, nice and clean, right on the glue joint. Now we can check along the total length of the neck. So we've checked the truss rod. It's not a matter of adjusting the neck. It's a matter of just necking those high spots on the frets. Here is the issue. You can see that right around here where I chalked that fingerboard, this was the source of most of that rattling and buzzing. Although we are going to dress it full length. But you can see how the fingerboard drops off towards the sound hole. Now this is a good thing in the design, but we still have some issues right here at the neck to body junction. We're going to dress those ever so slightly and then dress full length, and then we'll check it again. So this is not about taking off loads of material. This is a very light fret dress. So I'll go over it really lightly, and I can feel a couple of spots where it's grabbing, and then I'll bring you in for a closer look. Just breezing. Now it's definitely grabbing here, and you'll see when I pull into the camera, you're going to see this fall off. Leave it alone. Doesn't need to be touched. It's not an issue. Just enough of a discrepancy to cause all of that residual buzzing. All 3 bass strings, E, A, and D, as you could hear, were giving us a little grief. More buzzing than you need to have, that's for sure. Remember earlier in the video I mentioned that the treble side is good? Well listen, nothing's grabbing there. All the discrepancies are on the bass side of the neck. Before I finish recrowning and polishing off, I want to bring you in and kind of show you all the spots that are nicked. You can see by the filings that obviously the lion's share of the problem was at that neck to body junction where I chalked it. But as we make our way up the fingerboard, there were a couple of other spots that were also causing some issues. So it wasn't just the neck to body junction. As I look here, I can see the 4th fret took a good hit. Yeah, 4th, 5th, and 7th fret, 8th fret. So, and that's why it was buzzing full length on the bass side only. Treble side, nothing. It's perfect. So there's the evidence right there. You can see just a hint of dust here and here. And then this is obviously the worst part of it at that neck to body junction. This nut was actually cut too low, and that was part of the problem as well. I can see there's some super glue in here where they tried to lift that low E string. Okay, here's the wrap up on this this 0018 Martin. I'm going to bring you in tight so you can see the original saddle and the new saddle that I cut. So on the original saddle, the strings pretty well looks like, yeah, they touch dead center all the way across. On my saddle, I chase the low E back to the back half. The A is dead center, the D is just ahead of dead center. The G is right to the leading edge, and you know something? It could even stand to go further. But that's, we've basically run out of room. That's as far as we can go. The B is almost back to the back edge, and then the high E is just back a little bit from the front surface. Well, as I mentioned earlier in the video, the low E string was cut too short, and that's why the open E was rattling. Now's the time, might as well make it compensated, and that's what we did, and you'll hear it in a second just how in tune it is. Remember all those buzzing bass notes? Okay, watch now. Okay, so here's our open E. The A string. And the D. So in summary, here's the wrap-up. The bridge saddle needed to come up a little bit, and then those values needed to be cut all the way across all 6 strings to get it to intonate. The frets, as you saw, needed to be dressed in multiple places, leveled, recrowned, and polished, and then the nut needed to come out in order to dress the frets full length. While I had it out, I could see that they had filled in the low E with some super glue because it was cut too low. I thought, well, I'm going to cut a new nut. We may as well make it a compensated one. Okay, so let's hear this thing now. Let's hear just how in tune this guitar is. Here's the acid test. So we'll start with the open string, 1st fret all the way across. The neck meets the body at the 12th fret, and because there's fall off on that fingerboard, the 19th fret note, you're applying more pressure to bring it into contact with the fret. So I chose to go with the 5th and 17th fret notes instead of 7th and 19th fret notes. So A, octave A. Okay, here's our 5th string, 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, open string and 12th fret octave. So what I've got here is a 10th on the bottom, and then a 9th on the top, or a 2nd. So just to recap, we replace the saddle. This is a tricky saddle to replace. It's a through-cut saddle, so you have to get those ramps perfect on both sides. The intonation now is perfect all the way across. The G string actually could have come forward a little bit more. We've pushed it as far as it goes, and that's it. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos on John Till's guitar or that 1946 Banner J45, I had done a special saddle that cantilevered, much like a compensated nut, over the extreme edge of the slot to be able to line it up. We could do that with this guitar, but it's so close that I decided to go with what we've got. Other than correcting the tuning on the first fret like you saw a second ago, it also allowed us to elevate the strings to get away from all the open string buzzing. And of course all of those frets were leveled, recrowned, and polished, and this thing is mint now. Rico will very rarely reach for his tuner once these strings are settled. Whether you're playing quartal harmony or tertian harmony, this thing's 100% in tune.